London taxi company. So how are we, sir?
I'm fine. Yeah, and like I say, I'm just like everybody else, really, just staying indoors a lot because, as you know, the type of industry that I work in has really had to go down. Has had to shut down, and rightly so, really.
Yeah.
So sort of staying indoors, checking Twitter a lot, buying some endless crap on Amazon, and just waiting for life to go back to normal, really. But yeah, how about you?
Well, I'm not in my studio. I'm at home as well. This is the spare room at home because where my studio is, that's all shut down and locked. It's unlikely to be open for the next 2 weeks. And obviously, normally I'm painting at shows and events with these little things. That's what I'm normally painting with and creating with, but they are somewhat not being used. So instead, over the last 6 weeks, really, we've been drawing continuous car artwork. So I draw the image you see on the screen. So is it clear? Can you see the new taxi on the screen? That's
a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, isn't it? Stop it.
This is why I got you on, sir. This is exactly what I wanted.
Black cab, yeah. I mean, have you had a ride in one yet?
Well, funny enough,
for a while.
These cab, the TX, the London cab as it is, or as known as, is actually made in Coventry. So they're made in Anstey, just outside the city. And I wrapped one up with my artwork for a project. So one of the first pre-productions were actually my artwork. It was wrapped in my artwork. But obviously they're more iconic as a known as the black cab, the London black cab. And this is the most recent variant of it. So I've been in one. I haven't driven one, obviously, but I thought I'd have you on the line because as a motoring journalist, I'm sure you have many car experiences, probably some taxi experiences. Hopefully, some you can talk about. Some maybe you can't.
I have driven the black cab. I've driven it a couple of times actually.
Right, I'll stop you there. Right, I'm gonna start drawing. I'll start drawing. How it works. The pen goes down. I draw a continuous line of what you see on here, so I don't take the pen off the paper, and then I'll show you that and go, da-da, this is the line, and then we'll work back into it. During this time, I want to hear everything about your career, because we've known each other for maybe 6 years, 7 years.
I think it's longer actually. I was thinking about this last night, and the first time we met was when, I don't know if you were just starting out, but it was pretty early on in your career. You were at your little studio at Gaydon,
yep.
You? At the what's now the British Motor Museum, or whatever it's called these days. Christ knows. And I remember me and James Baggett came up to see you, and you showed us round and everything. And then I think you did a front cover for Car Dealer magazine.
I did. I completely forgot about that. I did.
Yeah. And it was great. It was brilliant because at that time it was my job to come up with the covers every single month, and I was terrible at it. I mean, I was awful at coming up with cover ideas. And then you did a cover, and that got me off the hook for 1 month. But it was Chevrolet's, wasn't it? It was a Chevrolet.
It was the Corvette.
Corvette, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was ZR6. ZR6, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. Something American and obscene. Yeah. Red, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I think you also did the logo as well. You did the Car Dealer logo, which is still at Car Dealer magazine. Actually, they still hang it on the wall and everything. And so that was the first time that we met. And I've, like everybody really, has followed your career a lot. And you've really gone from strength to strength, really, haven't you?
Well, so it's very sweet of you to say nice words.
That's I've got to, haven't I?
You don't have to. Well, I'll put the check in the post. How about that?
But yeah, so that that must have been like 2011 or something. Really.
It was, yeah. Your memory is much better than mine, much better. So, so that was card. Yes, it was a front cover. Did that? You came. I think there's a video on the YouTube still of you in the studio. I think
probably, yeah, some dreadful video shots on a potato of me prancing around your studio. Probably, yeah. That's something I'm gonna have to do this afternoon. Is actually try and is to try and find that video. But yeah, that does seem a very long time ago. Of course, you were very much in with Chevrolet, didn't you? You have this. Do you still got the Spark?
You know what? That car is the most annoyingly reliable car that I own. It's I've got the relatively new Kia Soul outside, which its battery died 2 days after not using it. So it's just been a very, very expensive paperweight outside for the last 6 weeks. And my parents have got the Spark at their house because I thought I'll have a more useful car, and Spark can go over and sit over at my parents' house because it's a tiny little roller skate, really unuseful, doesn't really do the job properly, but fires up first time. They literally jumped in it 2 days ago and started it up, and it started straight away.
Wow, I mean, that's probably the only good thing about the Chevrolet Spark, really, wasn't it? I mean, who knew that they were the most reliable car in the world? Because, I mean, I do seem to remember, Chevrolet are not with us anymore, obviously, but I do remember driving them at the time and thinking, my God, what terrible cars these are! But because I was young and frivolous in my early part of my career, so I obviously said these are fantastic cars.
I mean, they are fantastic if you want to have a car that starts. I mean, beyond it starting, I would never say it's a brilliant car. I would definitely say it's. I put bigger wheels on it and made it all colourful, and it looked. The thing is now is that I can't get rid of it because it's got history, and I'm sad to get. I'd be sad to get rid of it because I'm like. It's
part of your history. It's part of your career history.
Yeah, I know. And it'd be like hitting. It'd be like, going. Oh no, I can't get rid of it now. So yeah, it's with me forever. I think that car is. So, but there we are. There's a very, very basic outline of a taxi.
I mean that looks like a London taxi. It does not look like a Rolls-Royce Cullen. So you're doing well, actually.
Cheers, buddy. Well. So let's take it back to the start of your. How did you get into motoring journalism? What made you go, right, that's what I want to do? And how did your career? Because you've done all kinds of stuff, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it all started off by a mistake, actually. I've been in this game for 10 years now, and it all started off by a mistake, really. I sent an email to completely the wrong person. And somehow the email did get to the intended recipient eventually, and that happened to be James Baggott, who's now CEO of this enormous operation down in the South Coast, and he invited me down just to make the tea, really, as every good work experience boy or girl should do. And I turned up to this converted sweet shop in Alverstoke near Gosport in I think it was probably like June 2010 or something like that, and I walked through the door. I immediately tripped over and got ravished by James's little French bulldog.
I'm so glad you said that it was a bulldog. I'm so glad that was a bulldog then.
It was a bulldog, no, yes. And then it was a tiny little place. I mean, all the desks were. There was James, there was Duncan and Jade, who were the salespeople, and there was me. So there was 4 people crammed into this little office, and I was there all week. And I did everything. I made the tea, I cleaned the lavatory, I did the donut runs, and then I also wrote some news. I subbed some copy, I sold some adverts, I laid some pages out. I did everything in that week, and I think I became pretty useful in that week. So, first week of work experience at Car Dealer magazine way back in 2010. I think I became pretty invaluable to the team, and I turned up the second week, and I turned up the third week without being asked to, and then I was there for about 2 months, I think, and then James turned around and said, I think we're going to have to start paying you. And so that I was there for 4 years in the end, and I eventually became editor of Car Dealer magazine, and had some fantastic times. I mean, it was just brilliant, because back in those days, the magazine was really growing. The magazine first started out in James Baggett's conservatory, and now he's got this massive operation down at the South Coast, so I was there for 4 years, did some wonderful things, met people like you, met all sorts of wonderful people in the motor journalism community. I met people like Phil Huff. You've got him coming on soon.
He's on in a bit, yeah.
Good old Phil, and people like Scroff as well. Scroff, I mean, one of my enduring memories of my career is him and I going to the Geneva Motor Show. And it was back in the days where manufacturers had money. And it was Vauxhall flew us down to Monaco. We stayed in the Hermitage Hotel, and then drove a fleet of some really rather dreadful Vauxhalls, actually, but from Monaco all the way to Geneva. And he and I bagged probably the only good car on the trip, which was the Mark I Vauxhall Cavalier.
Oh, what a car! What a car!
I know, maroon with a vinyl roof, red velour interior, and he and I were just in seventh heaven, really. I mean, we were absolutely hurling this car along on the Route Napoleon, probably the worst car ever to have been driven on the Route Napoleon. But we were just having a wonderful time. So yes, the first 4 years of my career doing wonderful things like that, and then I got the phone call of a lifetime from Steve Fowler. Well, it wasn't a phone call; it was a Twitter message saying, "Would you like? We've got a position of news editor free at Auto Express. Would you like to come along for an interview?" So I had to reread the message several times and trekked up to London. Had an interview with him at a wonderful hotel in Charlotte Street Hotel, and then a couple of, and I thought the interview went appallingly.
So what made you think that? What point you were like, oh no, that's definitely not going to happen?
Well, you're in an interview and you're opposite one, a behemoth of the industry, and you're thinking, what can I do to impress this guy? And I just made a complete tit of myself. I just bigging myself up left, right and centre. And then he said, what's your best news story ever? And bearing in mind I was going for the job of news editor, I should have just pulled something out the hat, and I didn't. I just said, I can't remember what I said, but it was something absolutely awful. And he just sort of completely, he sort of recoiled in front of me. And I thought, this is it now. I've completely done this interview, left, thinking I'm never going to hear from the guy again. And then a couple of days later, I got offered the job, and I took it. And so, yeah, so sort of overnight, I moved from being from a B2B publication to joining Britain's best-selling car magazine, being news editor, and heading up a fantastic team of journalists, one of which is Lawrence Allen, who I just see has just joined the chat. Hi, Lawrence. And thinking, my God, I'm out of my depth here. I really am. And it was day one at Auto Express. I joined on a Wednesday. Anybody who's ever worked at Auto Express knows Wednesdays are the most important day at Auto Express, because that is the day that you pitch all your stories. So the news editor and the consumer editor go into an office and you pitch your stories to the deputy ed and to the editor, Steve Fowler. Day one of the job, I turned up and I had to cobble together a news list within a couple of hours, and I just went into this news meeting Absolutely myself, really. Sorry for the bad language, I have to say. But I was absolutely bricking it because I just didn't know what to pitch. So I just pitched a whole load of spy shot stories and some utter crap. And I got a torn a new really. I mean, in that meeting because I really did learn what it's like to be at the forefront of motoring journalism, and I was totally unprepared. So the first few weeks at Auto Express were a very, very steep learning curve. But I of course, when you join a new title or a top title, the pool of test cars is opened up to you, and you get to drive some wonderful things. You get taken to some tremendous places, drive some wonderful stuff, and some wonderful far-off places. But it's very pressurised. You know, working on a weekly magazine is very pressurised, and working on a website as well, which of course you've got to be first with the news, and it was very, very stressful, and I lost a huge amount of hair, during that period of time. It's clinging on at the moment, my hair, but it's going to be going fairly soon, and aged a lot in the process, and then I was news editor for a year or so. If I'm getting a bit boring, please do interrupt.
No, I'm entertained. I mean, so how did that role evolve? I mean, I guess with like how digital has advanced as well, and in terms of physical publications and online. Where was the demand? Has it always been equal, or how does it work?
Well, it also expressed. I mean, the magazine has always taken precedence because that's where it started, and also Express has got the enviable position of being number one in the weekly sales charts. But even during my time there, the importance of the web was. I mean, that dial was really changing towards the web. And the magazine is still a hugely important part of the business there, but like everything, print at the moment. Well, print has been in the decline for years, and especially at the moment of the dreadful stuff that's happening at the moment. The print industry. I don't know what the future of it's going to be, really. I mean, happily, we have seen a sort of resurgence in the print industry in the last year or so. I mean, there's been some wonderful publications have come out in the past year or so. I mean, there's like Magneto magazine, Private Motor Club, and all these kinds of magazines that are popping up, and they're really focusing on a market that is still thriving. There's still an appetite for magazines. People get a magazine every single month or weekly or whatever, and it's popped through their letterbox, and it's something physical. It's people still like that stuff. So, hopefully in the future, print and digital can sit harmoniously together, because yes, I, like you and everybody, wants news instantly on their phone, but also you want to sit down and read interesting features and wonderful stories in the comfort of your own home, sipping on a gin and tonic or something. So it's a very romantic view, I know, but I still think there is a bit of a yearning for that kind of experience. Yeah. Really. It's
like the physical kind of copy of it. It's not something on an iPad or on or however you engage with digital things. It's more like you're picking up and engaging with that.
Absolutely, yeah. So yes, I was news editor for a year, and it was very, very pressurised, but hugely fun and hugely a massive privilege to be news editor at Auto Express. And then I did that for a year, and then I got offered the job of head of motoring video at Auto Express, and with that job came the lead presenter role on Car Buyer. And then I spent nearly 5 years doing all of Car Buyer's videos, doing a lot of Auto Express videos as well. But I was predominantly the main presenter on Car Buyer. and that was great. I mean, it was very challenging because I was taking over from Matt Watson, who we all know and love and hate in equal measure.
He's got a slight Brummy twang, hasn't he? I know his voice.
Yeah, well, yes, all right, mate.
All right. How you doing? All right.
Make sure you follow me on Twitter, guys. You know, all that kind of. And so so I was taking over from him, which was very difficult. And he's obviously gone off to do some fabulous things at Carwow, and Carwow have given him the opportunity to do fantastic things. And so I took over from Car Buyer, and suddenly, you know, I had the job of reviewing virtually every single car on sale, getting them in for videos. I'd get 2 or 3 cars a week and have to do a full in-depth video with them. And I think one of the successes of Car Buyer over the years has been the very pragmatic and very in-depth videos that we did. And in 10-15 minutes we'd neatly encapsulate the car and tell you whether it's a good car to buy or not. And it was great fun. I mean, I'd constantly be getting emails or tweets or messages from people saying, we've bought a Skoda Kodiaq because you recommended one. It's like, oh Christ, don't buy a car off what I say, for God's sake, because it's a typical thing. We journalists, we get to live with a car if we're lucky for a week or hopefully on long-term loan. But my experience is very different from an owner's experience. And when people say, oh, I've bought a Ford Focus and I've had 16 warranty claims and I'm holding you to blame, it's like, please don't blame me. It's got nothing to do with me.
And often the press cars are looked after very well, aren't they? So it's unlikely a press car is going to break down.
And of course, you have not heard this from me, but it's a well-known fact that certain press cars are tweaked a little bit to make sure that they are the press cars are a little bit nicer than the customer cars. A certain Italian car manufacturer let slip to me once that the car that I was going to be driving for a while went down a certain production line purely for car journalists.
We didn't hear that here, though. They'll
never talk to me again. But so the cars that journalists drive sometimes are a little bit different from the cars that people actually buy. But it was for nearly 5 years of doing that, churning out the videos, getting a huge amount of abuse, actually. I do remember the first video that I ever did for Car Buyer. Again, young, naive me, I should have started out with some dreadful little Korean hatchback, but I didn't. I started out with the Ford Mustang. Christ, what a way to start, really. A new presenter who's very different from the old presenter, and starting off with a car as opinion-splitting as the Ford Mustang. And that video went live Christmas Eve 2015, I think, and I was reading the comments were coming in over the Christmas period, and I was getting 2,000 downvotes on this video and 2 upvotes on this video, and I was thinking, my God, I'm not going to have a job when I go back in January, because the Car Buyer are not going to keep me on. Why should they? If the audience are hating me this much. But I did. I came back in January, and I had to live with this for quite a few years. I mean, it never properly went away. People sending vile comments to you, and after a while, you develop a thick skin, and you get on with it, and you learn your presenting style. You realise that there is an audience that likes you and an audience that doesn't like you, and you've got to remember that when I was doing Car Buy, a typical video would do 100,000 views and 2 weeks, for example, and just because you've had 100 nasty comments, there's still 99,900 people who have watched the video and have not expressed a need to actually leave you a nasty comment. And that is the thing in this world that we live in now, that the internet can be a sewer, basically, and it's very easy to get sucked into that sewer and thinking, my God, everybody hates me. And they don't. It's just a very small proportion of people who are sitting in their bedrooms with nothing to do. They're sitting there in their pants, eating their pot noodles, and they haven't got a life. And they feel this need to throw this bile out on the internet, and you've got to make sure that you don't believe it, because it's very easy to. But I'm sure in your line of work you don't get any hate mail or people criticizing. Well, I mean, it's all love, isn't it? I
mean, to be honest, when I first started painting with cars, because somebody had written into the local newspaper. Because I had a solo exhibition at Solihull Art Gallery, and they didn't like the artwork. So they'd written in and said, this artwork would never, this isn't artwork, it never should be artwork, etc., etc. And I was like, cool, I've really irritated somebody. Without a comment, like kind of a bit of I think it happens. When you kind of putting your stuff out there and saying, well, this is what I'm doing, these are the artworks or whatever, you kind of sometimes, not a lot of time, very, very, very minimal, you get a negative back, but it is the world of the internet. People.
It is, and I do think, if you're doing anything of any worth, and speaking purely from a personal perspective, if you're writing or you're presenting a video, if you don't instigate a bit of debate and a bit of lively a bit of love and a bit of hate, I don't think you're doing a good enough job, personally. And especially, there are thousands of car presenters out there. They do fantastic videos, but they just talk, and they let the car be the star of the show, and rightly so, but they're instantly forgettable. And one thing that I said as soon as I came into this business of doing car videos is I want to make my mark, really, and that sounds very pompous and very up my own, I know, but I wanted to instigate a bit of debate, really, and that's sort of where the whole sort of brightly coloured trouser thing started.
Because you do have a very good wardrobe, don't you?
I wouldn't say good, Ian. Interesting, probably. But it was purely something just to stand out from the crowd, just to say, look, just to, especially in this day and age where on YouTube it's all about the thumbnail. And your thumbnail has got to stick out from all the other thumbnails so that people actually click your video. And, stupidly, I thought if I wore bright coloured trousers, it makes the thumbnail a little bit more interesting. And that sort of evolved into matching my trousers to the test car that I was driving, which is an absolutely dreadful concept. And please do not think that I like doing it. But it just became a thing, and especially if you develop a certain look, you've got to carry on with it. And so this thing of #BatchMatch started, and it's become my sort of thing, really. So it's cost me a huge amount of money buying trousers in virtually every colour, every hue of every colour variation, but as much as you found as well, you've got to develop your own look and style, and when you do that, people follow you, don't they? So
exactly. If I'm not at an event and if I'm not wearing like my paint splattered jeans, people don't know who I am. They'll be like, "Oh, you're that guy." So I'll wear my paint splattered jeans to meetings, to whatever, because that's like the authenticity behind the brand.
Exactly.
So
well, that's what I mean. You know, it's partly accidental, but also not accidental. That your glasses have got paint on them as well, isn't it? Because it's your kind of thing, isn't it? You know, if you've got paint on your hands, you're naturally going to touch your glasses as well. So it becomes your own look and style, doesn't it? And that's really important at the moment. So I was at Carbide for 4 or 5 years doing the videos, and then early this year I thought, you know what, I'm going to go freelance, and I went freelance at the beginning of March, and it will go down as the worst decision in the history of worst decisions, really, because I went freelance right at the time that the coronavirus hit, and put it this way, the past 6 weeks have been very quiet.
So in terms of like some of the stuff that you've done over the years, like what if you had like a top 3 highlight, top 4 highlight, what has been some of the kind of the best things that you've been able to experience?
Two things immediately spring to mind. One was fairly recent. It was the back end of last year. I managed to do the London to Brighton veteran car run, which if people aren't aware of it, it's a car run that's been going since the late 1800s. It first started to celebrate the passing into law of a new law where you didn't have to drive with a man with a red flag in front of you. And to celebrate, a small group of motorists came up with this idea of driving from London to Brighton, predominantly to celebrate the new law, but also as a way of testing their cars, to test the parts and to improve the reliability of everything. And it's something I've always wanted to do. As a child, I remember watching the film Genevieve, a classic British film from the early 50s, and which is about the London to Brighton run. And I've always wanted to do it. And last year, Fiat phoned me up and said, it's our 120th anniversary this year. We own the world's oldest Fiat, which is a 3.5 horsepower car from 1898, I think it is. I can't remember. My memory fails me. The car is held at Bewley Museum. And would you like to drive it in the run from London to Brighton? And I said, my God, yes. Not realising quite what an ordeal it is driving a 120-year-old car 70 miles. I mean, it is an absolutely horrendous experience, really, to put it bluntly. So I was told to go down to Bewley and have some driving lessons, and of course I turned up at Bewley thinking, I'm a motor journalist, I know how to drive, this is going to be a piece of cake. And within 10 minutes I quickly realised I did not have a clue what I was doing. And it's got a very awkward clutch on it, and I was told by the guy who looks after the car and who was going to be my passenger for the route. He said, 1 duff gear change, and that is the gearbox ruined. And this car has competed in the run 5 times now, and we've never made it because the person driving it has got the gearbox. So a huge amount of pressure, and I did make a few foul gear changes, but I didn't break it. But the most awkward thing about it was that you didn't have a steering wheel; you had a tiller. So you'd be sitting on this leather bench without a backrest, and you'd be hunched over these 2 tillers, one of which is the throttle. So you'd control the throttle with one tiller, and you'd control the steering with the other tiller. And you had a handbrake and a foot brake. So basically, this car was designed for an Italian with 3 arms. And it was awful. And the day of the actual run came, and somehow we got there. The car didn't break. Well, the car broke down 3 times, but there were things that we could fix en route, and there was rain and there was beautiful sunshine, but we actually managed to get to Brighton. And this is a really stupid thing to say, but I actually got quite emotional when we got to Brighton because it was such an ordeal. 70 miles in a car with 3.5 horsepower that only does, at best, 6 miles an hour. And you're sharing the roads with absolute lunatics. And I don't mean modern day drivers, because as soon as they see an old car, most modern day drivers give you a wide berth and their passengers are taking photos of the car on their smartphones. But the lunatics on the road are the other people in the veteran car run. So you'd be pootling along at 4 miles an hour, minding your own business, and all of a sudden you'd get this 1904 Benz actually come streaming up past you with like 30 horsepower, and just driving through red lights, driving on the wrong side of the road, ignoring bus lanes and all sorts of things. And I mean, unfortunately, people do die in the London to Brighton run every single year, and you can see why, because the cars really aren't up to it. So that goes down as one of my best experiences. And I should actually talk about the London taxi, because
let's now have done all the lovely stuff. So what things have you got with the London taxi? Have you driven one of these yet?
Yeah, I've driven two of them actually. I mean, I did an Auto Express video a few years ago where I drove around London with the taxi, and it was brand new then. I mean, I think it was the only one in the capital. And I did a video, and of course I did the cliche thing of I was in a jean jacket and I had a flat cap, and I was pulling up to people at the curbside saying, "All right, darling," you know, all that kind of rubbish. Putting on my best Cockney accent, obviously, and drove the London taxi, and then it was completely new, and everybody was taking photos of it. Everybody was hailing it. Of course, I couldn't take them for a ride, obviously, but it was I drove that cab, and I drove it back to back with the TX. Was it TX5? Is it?
Yeah. So that's the previous one.
So
Yeah.
I drove that back to back with that taxi, and I mean the transformation is light and day. I mean, the old taxi, you sit in this sort of lavatorial driving position. You feel like you're sitting on a bog, basically. Absolutely horrendous seat. This really awkward driving position with this diesel engine that is just chugging away all day. I think it's like a 3-speed or a 4-speed automatic gearbox. And it's a distinctive sound and smell of London, I know. But for those poor cabbies who have to drive, or those TX4s, I mean, really not an enjoyable driving experience. And of course, the new TX5, the TX taxi now, electric taxi or range extender, as it properly is, total transformation. I mean, you get into it with, you've got these sort of barn doors. You get into it like a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Actually, that's the only similarity it's got with the Rolls-Royce Phantom. But you climb up into the driving seat, and you sit in this black cab, and you're sitting up higher than other drivers. You're sitting sort of shoulder height with on a level with Range Rovers, and you're sitting in a cabin that bears a striking resemblance to a Volvo XC90, which is, funnily enough, the entire cabin is Volvo XC90 parts, really, because of course the company that owns London, the electric taxi company, is Geely, who also own Volvo. So you're sitting in this cabin that is very similar to a Volvo XC90, and you're driving around in something that is really lovely. I mean, you waft around on electric power, and then once you've depleted the batteries, the tiny little 1.5 litre 3-cylinder Volvo engine kicks in, and it powers the batteries. I mean, that engine never powers the wheels. So it's the batteries that power the rear wheel. So it's rear wheel drive, which you do give it a bootful from a junction, you can get it to spin its tyres, which is quite fun. Irresponsible, of course, but quite fun.
But all in the name of testing, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was the Auto Express video, and then I managed to drive one again. I got one in for a car buy video, me and the lovely Ginny Buckley.
Oh, I've spoken to Ginny. I've spoken to Ginny already.
Yeah, I saw that video actually because you were doing the electric Mini with her.
Yes, the electric Mini with her. Yes.
Yes, she's become very much the electric queen in the past few months, and yes, she and I did this video with the taxi, and we had a great time shooting that. So yes, it's a wonderful thing, the new taxi. I mean, if you sit in the back and you're a passenger, you've got a glass roof above you, so you can look up, and the build quality is really nice and it's very comfortable. I mean, it's very expensive. I mean, they're like £50,000 to £60,000, and but you know, that is the price of development, really, isn't it? I mean, you know, that's, you know, it's a much cleaner, better for the environment kind of thing, and that's the price of progress, I suppose. So yeah, it's a great thing, the Black Cab, and it's like you said earlier on, it's a worldwide success as well. I mean, it's not just in London. You know, it's great for Coventry, but you know, countries all around the world are buying them because they're unique, aren't they? There's nothing else like.
Oh yeah, and they're now developing the van version of it as well. So I don't think that's out yet, but there's going to be.
No, I think it's been revealed and launched, but I don't think it's actually on the roads yet. Or correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it's a van version, and it's all about you know, making sure that urban transport is a lot cleaner. Because you know, I'm one of the biggest petrol heads going, but you know, it is wrong if you're walking around London and all you can smell is diesel fumes. It's just not nice. So you know, hopefully, gradually the old black cabs can be phased off the roads, and we're getting these cleaner taxis, which you know, we've all you know, the biggest petrol heads in the world have all got to admit that that's what we need, really, and cleaner transportation. So
no, absolutely. Well, that's awesome that you've had a chance to drive it around and enjoy it, and yeah, that's yeah. So I did a project with them in Coventry for the bid, and they wrapped one up in my artwork with all the kind of the stuff that associates to Coventry, which was and it was cool because we did the last of the diesel cabs and the first of the electric cabs. So it's kind of it's a nice little it's a good little story, that. So there's your there's your old taxi. There's the classic Austin, and now you've got the TX.
That is absolutely so. So can you just explain exactly how you've done that then? So it's a continuous line drawing. How have you filled in the colour? So
the basic structure is all done in one line in about 3-4 minutes, and then I worked through it to kind of using all of the tools that you see here. So felt tips, different things, you know, silver pens, anything I can get my hands on really, to then create the taxi that you see there. So whilst you've been talking, I've been creating that.
That is absolutely true.
And that is number 300, which will be in the book as well.